What is up, everybody? It's CJ and I'm back with another Barnacle Bay renovation video, and today we're going to be renovating the Piscator's cabin. Now, I did not know what that meant, y'all. I was like, Piscator, what is that? So I looked it up. It's basically like an old term for fisherman or angler. Honestly, though, it kind of gave me ideas for this house, not gonna lie. It says on the lot description that this house was given to you by your great-great-grandparents. So I was like, okay, that kind of gave me a little bit of ideas, right? So for one, I was like, this house does remind me of a trailer. So I was like, we could have made it into a trailer home, but then I didn't really like that idea. Also, I was gonna go with the rundown trailer aesthetic, and I did not want to do that again, y'all, because like I've been doing a lot of rundown builds lately. So I was like, why don't we just make this house look nice, right? Maybe the furnishing style can be slightly older, but it'll still look nice. Like, if anything, this reminds me of houses I've seen in real life. It reminds me of like a double wide or like a modular home, if you've ever seen those before. It just really gives that vibe to me. And really all I did for the outside of the house, because y'all know usually when it comes to these rectangle houses, I like to put, bump outs or something just to make it look more appealing to the eye. But today, all I really did was I just added a porch and a roof. And I think that was enough, honestly. I did notice, however, that the left side of the house is 7 tiles wide and the right side is 6. So I did move the house in 1 tile just so it would be a lot more even. Also, I was really upset, y'all, because I had to use this really big door. So yeah, the way that the house is, the 2 tile doors was going to be off center and I did not want that to happen. So I was like, we'll just use a 3 tile door. That way it'll be even. So we're using this one from base game, but in the end though, it still does look nice and it does kind of help us with that older style house, you know. It looks like an older door. So I spent a lot of time outside, y'all. The majority of what you're gonna see so far is just me fixing up the outside. There was like this really interesting path that kind of went all the way around the house, and I didn't really know what to do with it. So in the original house, it leads to the back and it's kind of like a patio and there's just a couple of chairs. So I was like, okay, we can kind of run with that idea. So I also turned it into a patio, but I gave you something to do in the backyard. So there's a grill back there. You'll see it at the very end of the video, but there is a grill. It's a nice little patio. I like the idea of the pavement kind of like going all the way around the house, so I kind of went with that idea as well. And yeah, this is around the time when I was trying to figure out why the house was uneven. So I ended up fixing it. But it was just weird because I didn't know what was going on at first. And then in addition to that, I also added a bunch of landscaping. Now, usually I try not to use that many different pieces of landscaping when I do these videos, just so things can look a lot more cohesive. But I'm not going to lie, y'all, this is one of those builds where I kind of went a little bit overboard. Honestly, not only with landscaping, but also with the budget. So at first, I thought this house was a starter home. It was like 20,000 something simoleons. However, when I tried to place down 2 Sims, it wasn't enough. Like, they couldn't afford to live here. So I was like, okay, let's try for 3. They couldn't afford it. So I was like, what are we going to do here, y'all? So at that point, I was like, I don't care. However much it ends up being, it's just going to have to be that much. Like, I just want to make a nice, cute house. So this house went from being around 20,000 simoleons to around 40,000 simoleons. So yeah, this house is a little bit expensive. You could always use free real estate if you want to move here, or maybe if you have like really rich Sims that kind of just want to downsize to something that's nice. There you go. And then also too, since this house is in Barnacle Bay, I had to go a little bit overboard, y'all, with the nautical aesthetic. Some of you may not know, but if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I love a nautical house. I love the Cape Cod aesthetic. Anything kind of tropical also. You know, I do love my little rustic, cozy, craftsman style stuff, but I really, really love the tropical aesthetic. So I knew that this was going to be the house that I had to kind of do. To me, this house kind of gives retired home, like there's a couple of grandparents that live here and they just kind of are just living their life. You could just tell that the house is a little bit older on the inside by the furnishing, but it just kind of gives like retired Sim energy, if that makes sense. I did use one of the bedrooms to turn it into a kid's room. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but yeah, like I just see this as being a house for an older couple, but you can turn it into whatever you want. So now we finally move on to the inside. I didn't really change the floor plan that much because I quite liked it. So what I did do though is you'll see that there's a wall for the kitchen. I got rid of it and I added half walls. I have been addicted to just adding half walls in my sim builds lately, y'all. I don't know what it is. Like I built a house on a stream the other day and I had to include a little half wall by the front door. It's just like a good little thing to do when you want to like separate the space a little bit and you don't really want to add an actual wall. So I included a half wall there. I also replaced the windows with the ones from the Showtime pack. I just love these because they're cheap. They let in a good amount of light, and they're also basic too, you know? I also changed the wallpaper in here, so I'm using one from the Sims 3 store. It may come from that nautical set. I wanted to use this one. It had the seashells on the wallpaper as like little decals. Of course, I made the wallpaper blue because, you know, the ocean, water, all that good stuff. I also made the rooms a little bit smaller, so I brought the walls back a little bit. So the bedrooms have a good amount of space, but I just made them a little bit smaller so I could make sure that the living room made sense. You'll see that I almost forgot to place doors down, so I started by putting the TV, and I was like, wait a minute. How are you going to get to this room? So I had to move everything over a little bit. But the TV that I'm using is from the 70s, 80s, and 90s stuff pack. I'm also using these really older chairs. These are like, to me, the Craftsman ones from the base game. I don't use these really at all, honestly, but I like them for this kind of build, so I wanted to use them. And then I'm using that really big square rug from base game. And if I'm being honest, y'all, I just really use this build as an excuse to just use a lot of nautical stuff. At first, I was going to use that really old table right there, but then I was like, no, let's do something a little bit better. So I ended up using one from the base game. It's kind of giving like a Craftsman style, rustic style end table. I went back and I added like a little pirate ship. I also found that plant with the scuba diver's mask, and it has like the plant coming out of it. I put that in the corner as well. The curtains I used are the ones from the Sunlit Tides pack. They're like the really nice beachy curtains. The lamp is from the Seasons pack that I put in the corner. The doors that I'm using are, I don't remember what set. Maybe it's the Regal set. It's one of those like fancier sets from the Sims 3 store. I just really like the way the doors look. I did recolor them, however. I also found this little shelf object, y'all, with little compartments, and it has like a lot of like aquatic stuff like seashells, starfish. I knew I had to put that in here somewhere. Also, I found like the different types of knots that you can do, like the nautical knots, so I put those in the living room as well. I don't really get to use a lot of the stuff that often, y'all, so this was like the perfect excuse to do it, especially with that little like curio object from the Seasons pack. I don't ever use that one, so I had to use it in here somewhere. So we move on to the first bedroom. So this one is a little bit more generic, I will say. It's still nice, but I feel like it's a little bit generic. So I went with like a basic white wallpaper. I also have a blue carpet. The bed I'm using is from the Seasons pack. And then I used the dresser. I believe it's from the Villa set from the Sims 3 store. Maybe I'm wrong about that. And then those end tables are from the Island Paradise pack. There's not a lot of stuff going on in this bedroom, but you do have a mirror and a dresser. I did also put one of those plants. It's from the Bayside set, I believe. I put that one in the corner of the bedroom as well. At first, I had the bed up against a wall, but then I was like, how are two Sims going to get into this bed, CJ? So I did move it over a little bit, and I only included one end table. So this way, two Sims can sleep here, you know, if you wanted to have like a family live here, for example. And then that's basically everything for that room. So now we move on to the kids' room. So my headcanon is that whoever grandparents or whoever lives here, this was their kids' bedroom, right? And then like over time, they, you know, got rid of the normal bed and put a bunk bed in here for grandkids, you know? So like whenever you come over and visit grandma, grandpa's, whoever, you have a place to sleep, you know? So I put bunk beds in here. There's also a little end table from Generations. These bunk beds, by the way, do come from the Generations pack. I used the desk. I believe that desk is from University. I think it is. And I also used like a little office chair in here. I was going to put a computer in here, but I didn't. So if you want to put a computer or laptop, you definitely can, but I just didn't. I did also include a toy box, and there is a bookshelf. The bookshelf is from, I think it's from the one of those like teen bedroom sets from the Sims 3 store, or kit bedroom sets. I can't remember. I don't really get to use it that often, so I thought it would be a nice place because I wanted to get like a small bookshelf in here anyway. So I ended up using that one. And the rug is from the Supernatural pack. I knew that I had to make the bed sheets kind of tropical, nautical kind of. So I have like lighthouses on one of them, and then the other one has palm trees on it. So in the end, though, I think the bedroom was really nice. I just really like the color scheme in here. I tried to put as much stuff as I could without over cluttering it. So we have like posters on the wall. We have some artwork on the wall as well. So now we move over to this little hallway section. And I believe right after this, we go to the kitchen. So for this little section, I just wanted to put a wall light just to make it a little bit more illuminated. I also included a dresser from the base game, and I included a lamp. I think it's like a Tiffany style lamp. I don't know, I just really like the way that lamp looks, and it's been a while since I've used it, and I thought it would look really nice in this little spot, so I included that as well. And that's basically everything for this little section. I wish I could have made that little cubby go up a little bit, but I didn't have my Sims 3 tool mod installed. So now we move on to the kitchen, and y'all, I love how this kitchen turned out. It looks so nice. It kind of looks rustic. or like craftsman in a way, but I think it looks nice nonetheless. I used the wallpaper that was here. I just recolored it. I also recolored the tile at the bottom as well. And then I'm using the countertops from the Ambitions pack, y'all, and it looks so nice. I recolored them to have this orangey brown color scheme, and it just looks really good in my opinion. The table that I'm using is from the Pets pack as well, and instead of having upper cabinets, I went with some open shelving this time around. So Generations has these two shelf objects, one is long and one is kind of short. I'm using a couple of those, and I'm just going in the corner of the wall and just trying to make them look like they're seamless. You can't really get it super seamless, but you can kind of try a little bit. So that's kind of what I did with this one. I also included some clutter on top of them. Not too much though. I didn't want it to look so busy. So there's like a cookie jar and just stuff like that. And this is just me now recoloring the countertops, and it just looks so good, y'all. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I've been loving how these renovations turned out. Maybe I'm biased because I'm the one that's renovating it, but y'all, I've been loving the way they've been turning out lately. And I know a lot of y'all have really been enjoying these videos too. I said this in the last video, but I'll say it again. Thank y'all so much for watching, commenting, leaving likes. I do really appreciate it. I'm gonna just try my best to get through all of these builds. I've been really trying my best to get through a lot of the smaller builds in this world before I tackle the big ones, because those big ones, y'all, are something else. So we are getting through them. We only have like, I think, a couple left to get through, so we should be on to the bigger builds really soon. But now we move on to the bathroom. I went with a blue color scheme for the bathroom, and I went with a black and white checkered print for the floor. I don't know why, but I thought it looked really nice and kind of outdated, but in a good way. I got rid of basically all the stuff that was in here, and I'm adding some new stuff. So at first I was going to use the shower tub combo, but then I swapped it out for an actual tub object. I still wanted to have a pedestal in here, so I'm using the one from the Pets pack instead. Same thing with the toilet, it's the one from the Pets pack. I recolored everything, so it's kind of like a black-ish kind of color scheme. I also added like a little captain's wheel, like a little steering wheel, and I added this little cabinet above the toilet. I did also include a rug as well. It's one of the circular ones from base game, but that's basically everything for the bathroom. And then now all I do is I go in the backyard. We need to go back to this patio for a second. So at first, like I said, it was a little patio back here, but it wasn't a lot to do. So I added a grill. I had a little table so you can prepare the meals a lot easier. At first, I was a picnic table, but I got rid of it for some umbrella tables, I thought that would be a little bit better. So I added 2 of those with 4 chairs. So basically 8 Sims can sit out here at one time. I also put an outdoor light back here and a couple of those little tiki lights as well. But in the end, that's pretty much everything for the entire video. If you did enjoy it, please be sure to leave a like, comment something down below. Please stick around for the screenshots, and I'm going to leave a link to this build down below if you want to download it. But anyway, y'all, that is all that I have for this one, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye! Thanks for watching!